Episode 4 of Silo Season 2 has just dropped, and it was packed with pivotal moments. Following Judge Meadows' declaration that she wanted to go outside, we got a bittersweet glimpse of her experiencing the outside world, or at least a version of it. Meanwhile, the growing division between the upper and lower levels is becoming more evident, with corruption and manipulation deeply entrenched in the Silo's leadership. If Jules ever manages to return to Silo 18, it's hard to imagine it resembling the place she left behind. It will likely be completely transformed by the brewing chaos. Let's break down the key details of the episode and explore what they might mean for the story moving forward. And just to let you know, there will be spoilers ahead. The death of Judge Meadows. From the moment of Judge Meadows' death, it's clear Bernard has been doing everything he can to suppress any potential rebellion. This includes manipulating the people to turn against those in the lower, mechanical levels, and even sacrificing what could be considered his best friend and former lover to maintain the status quo. Meadow has long since wanted to go out, but has recently become a liability. Thus, he poisons her, but it's what happens after she is poisoned that I find really interesting. Bernard introduces what can only be described as a VR headset, asking Meadows if she has ever used such a device when she sat with the Legacy. This is the first time we've heard of the Legacy, and I'm left wondering, is this an advanced computer system that connects to the headset, possibly tied to the mysterious computer behind the vault? Could the Legacy even refer to a person, not just technology? The headset itself is similar to the one found in the cleaning suits, but instead of projecting a fake reality, it shows recorded videos. In this case, it's a haunting scene of a Costa Rican jungle where Meadows' dying words are captured, questioning Bernard about what humanity did to lose the world. Afterward, Bernard manipulates the scene further by making it appear as though Meadows was murdered, stabbed by a rusty knife, with the blame falling on someone from the mechanical level. This is a calculated move to incite conflict between the people from the upper silo and those from the lower levels. What I'm curious about now is who will fill Meadows' role as judge. Bernard had total control over her, but who will step into that power vacuum? And how is a new judge even chosen? There's also the mystery of Meadows' disappearance 25 years ago, shortly after she stepped down as Bernard's shadow. The day after her departure, she vanished for 4 days and never told Bernard where she went. My own theory, though admittedly far-fetched, is that she might have had an abortion, possibly carrying Bernard's child. This would explain some of the tension and secrecy between them. Bernard is clearly obsessed with everything Meadows knew about the hard drive, and we get some fascinating details in this episode. The hard drive contains something related to the head of the previous rebellion 140 years ago. On this drive is a letter, partly written in code, which Meadows claims she can't tell him what it said. The name associated with this figure is Salvador Quinn, a name we haven't heard before on the show. Leading up to her death, Meadows was tirelessly trying to uncover the truth behind Juliet, the hard drive, and Lucas Kyle. If you recall, Lucas was the man who helped Juliet in Season 1 and was later banished to the mines. This episode offers a deeper look into Meadows' knowledge of the world. She explains the flashing lights in the sky are giant balls of gas known as suns, confirming Lucas's theory that the planet revolves around one. Meadows also uses her position to reduce Lucas's sentence from 10 years in the mines to 5, in exchange for information about the lights he saw. In one of the final scenes, Meadows visits the cafeteria, a place she's been obsessed with, before her death. She's been fixated on the outside world for decades, which is partly why she's so desperate to leave the silo. I doubt this will be the last time we see Lucas. Imagine being him, sitting there as the judge, who has just revealed all this mind-blowing information, is suddenly murdered that same day. Lucas will definitely want answers, and his role in the unfolding mystery is far from over. Jules and Solo's dynamic. Jules and Solo's moments together in this episode were, in my opinion, vastly underrated. Their screen time mainly revolved around Jules trying to figure out a way to get underwater and through the corridor to salvage a suit that would help her return to Silo 18. But that, in itself, wasn't the focal point. The heart of their connection was found in Solo's words, his actions, his recommendation of the musical instrument, and, in many ways, Jules' own evolution throughout the episode. The episode opened with Solo sharing stories about circus animals, like elephants, and his knowledge of the outside world. It became clear that Solo knew more about the before time than most people inside Silo 18. Inside the B-level classroom, he seemed at home, familiar with the bags, intrigued by the artwork on the walls, and nostalgic for a girl named Sappies, with whom he used to sit during class. When Jules pointed out that the class would have been for 11 or 12-year-olds around the time of Founders Day, Solo seemed to backtrack, hinting at a memory gap. At this point, I started to think, could Solo have been a child when the rebellion struck? That would explain his childlike behavior and voice. If he was left isolated from adults after the age of 11, it makes sense that he would not have had the chance to mature, both mentally and emotionally. Solo's past, which remains shrouded in mystery, might suggest he's the son of the sheriff who led the ill-fated walk outside. This theory is further supported by the focus on him as one of the only children seen in the flashbacks. One of the more mysterious aspects was the discoloration in Solo's eye, which he brushed off when Jules asked about it. Could this be a result of exposure to the outside world? Without a suit? Jules, too, had an interesting arc in this episode. She underwent a drastic shift in her attitude. At the beginning, she sought silence, even asking Solo to stop talking about his stories, including his tales of the circus and the elephants. But by the end, after retrieving the suit that would allow her to return to Silo 18, she longed for Solo to share those very same stories. Her loneliness, particularly in Silo 17, had become too much to bear. She admitted that when she was forced to go outside, there was a subtle but meaningful gesture, highlighting his deep understanding of her character. Not only did this reveal his knowledge of the outside world, but it also suggested parallels between Jules and Captain Nemo. Nemo was often described as a solitary figure, much like Jules, who prefers to keep to herself. Both were considered to be intelligent and enigmatic, with little known about their pasts. If I were Jules, I would have taken this as a compliment, a recognition of her strength and independence, even if it was buried beneath her quiet demeanor. Looking ahead, I imagine the next episode will focus on Jules preparing the suit and determining a safe way to venture outside. But her biggest dilemma will likely be leaving Solo behind. He's a man of his word, and I suspect he'll feel obligated to stay, particularly since he was entrusted with guarding the vault. The tension of their potential parting is palpable. Past attempts to deal with Solo, possibly due to the valuable information he possesses, add an intriguing layer to the situation. Those visits, though sporadic, hint at the possibility of others coming to Silo 17 again before Jules leaves, which would add even more unpredictability and suspense to the story. This dynamic between Jules and Solo, with their unique personalities and evolving relationship, continues to be one of the most compelling aspects of the series. The upcoming challenges they face will likely test not just their resourcefulness, but also their emotional resilience as they navigate the complexities of trust, loneliness, and survival. Paul's doubts. Paul, driven by his own quest for the truth, uncovers that the body of Patrick Kennedy, who was involved in the firebombing, was taken by judicial. In fact, there's a chance that Patrick is still alive. Paul is already suspicious that something is going on, and even if he manages to track down Patrick and discovers he's alive, I don't think it will do him any good. After all, remember that Bernard promised Paul a memory-erasing drug. So, if Paul gets close to the truth, he might end up losing all recollection of it, leaving him right back at square one. It's a cruel twist, and it seems like Paul's journey for answers might come at a hefty price. The ending of this episode was intense. Right at the close, when Knox and Shirley walked into Judge Meadows' office, they found her body with a knife in it. It didn't take long for them to realize that they were being set up and framed. After their exhausting journey to the upper levels, they had to keep calm and composed, ensuring that no one in the public suspected anything was wrong. Their goal was to make their way back down the stairs without drawing attention. However, Bernard had already anticipated this move. He gave them only a small head start before publicly announcing, and outright lying, that they were the ones who killed Judge Meadows. This was exactly what Bernard wanted, and it played out just as he had hoped. The entire upper level was enraged by the supposed murder, and this sparked a witch hunt to track down the culprits, who had just made their escape. The pair only had a brief, two-spiral head start, and it's unclear if they'll even make it back down to the mechanical levels. This event has essentially set the stage for the rebellion. Bernard's manipulation has worked. Mechanical has been blamed for Judge Meadows' death, just as history had shown it would unfold. The murder of Judge Meadows is seen as an act of hostility and the first major step in what will undoubtedly lead to a civil war within the silo. The tension is now at a boiling point, and the consequences of Bernard's actions will unfold in the coming episodes. I thought this was a really strong episode of the show. Not only did we get a well-balanced amount of screen time between Silo 17 and Silo 18, but each of the story arcs also felt evenly explored. The overall story development is progressing nicely. Solo and Jules' time together was one of the more interesting parts of the episode. Solo has so much mystery surrounding him, and we're slowly peeling back the layers of his character. It's clear he's starting to trust Jules more, and I really like that development. I have a feeling he's going to play a significant role in the show because of the valuable information he holds. Plus, I'm really curious about what's inside the vault that he's so desperately protecting. This episode further confirmed that Bernard is a cold, calculating individual who cares about nothing but the power he holds. He's willing to kill, frame people, and do whatever it takes to maintain that power. He's a dangerous person, and the fact that he knew about Sim's plan to impeach Judge Meadows, casually dropping it into conversation, shows just how much control he has. I think this revelation will likely make Sims more cautious moving forward. The death of Judge Meadows was heartbreaking, especially since she was killed by someone she trusted. Her dying wish to visit the cafeteria to view the bleak landscape of the outside world showed just how desperately she longed to escape the silo. Seeing Costa Rica for the first time, even in a brief, virtual way, was a small but meaningful moment of grace for her. This season is definitely a slow burn, much like the entire show, but that's what makes it so compelling. The pacing is perfect, they're not rushing through the story, and we're given the space to really absorb what's happening. I truly appreciate that approach. This is, without a doubt, one of the best shows currently on TV, and if you're not watching it, I highly recommend it. If you liked the video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and leave a comment. If there's anything specific you'd like to see in future videos, feel free to drop your suggestions in the comments below. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button.
See you next time.